Aha, it's working.
Really?
Not my class, other classes.
All right, class.
Ready.
There is a little bit of a typo on your one pager. So if you go down to number 8, you're going to see that number 8 and number 6 are exactly the same. So I'm going to change number 8 to the following. It says, instead of explanation of how to determine whether a function is an inverse, I'm going to say an explanation of how to find the difference quotient. Okay, and then those numbers from your study guide are those ones I put up on the screen earlier, which is 43 and 44. We are going to skip number 18 in the study guide today, okay? It's harder than what we need to do for the test. Did you have a quick question for me, Matt?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so you want a point slope form, you want a parallel. So you need to divide both sides by 3 to get your slope, and then the slope of your new equation is going to be the same as that one.
Yeah, but is this going to be like 2x minus 5 over 3 then?
Yes, and it doesn't matter. It's going to be 2x over 3 minus 5 over 3. But you don't care about that. You only care about the 2 over 3 because that's your slope. And then you're going to plug that into your equation, y equals m times x plus 8 or minus h plus
So
k.
you can use that slope with these,
Yes,
these ones?
you got
On the
it.
equation.
You got it. Good. Okay, so looking at our study guide, is there a question you guys want to add? Hi.
Do you have any one pages?
I don't have any more one pagers. The one pagers are the last page of your interactive notebook. So if you lost yours, you just have to use blank white paper. You got it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So, okay. Should we do the same ones I did in my last class, or do you guys want to give me input?
I just want to do it. I don't know. Let's just do the same.
Number 1, good. So numbers 1, 2, and 3 are all in the same category. That's our parallel and perpendicular lines. If you look up here on your one pager, it does say first everything has to be done in ink, no pencil. Okay? I'm okay with colored pencil. Colored pencil is great. It doesn't smudge the same way lead pencil does. Okay? Okay. Then it says we need to add properties about parallel and perpendicular lines. Okay, so I'm going to add those properties in my border right away. Okay, so I'm going to start those properties right here. You're also going to need to know about point slope form and slope intercept form. So I'm going to write those things right here. Your point slope form is the equation y equals m times x minus h plus k. Your slope intercept form is the y equals mx plus b. Notice both forms have the word slope in them. And they both have an m in their equations. Okay. The point, hk, can come from any point that's given. Doesn't matter which point. I use that as hk. But the intercept is actually the y-intercept, which is b. Okay. We need to talk about parallel and perpendicular slopes and maybe even the slope equation. Okay, so I'm going to write the slope equation down. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And that is when we have x1 comma y1 and, oh, not at y2, x2 comma y2.
What?
What does the word say before the coordinates?
Let's see.
When.
Oh, when.
Is that and?
Yes.
When and?
When, that, and that.
What about that?
That's how you use the formula. So let me,
You just
yeah. So like your y1 and x1 come from one point, and then your x2 and y2 come from another point.
I don't know if I like it.
You don't, but if you ask the question, then you should probably be the one writing it down.
No, I'm just confused by your wording. I know how to do it.
Whatever. My wording is great. I'm a teacher.
I'm supposed to say, oh,
You are talking some smack today. This is kind of cool. Okay. You are funny, man. You're like the funniest guy I know. Okay. Parallel slopes are exactly the same. Uh-oh. Perpendicular slopes are the negative reciprocal of one another. It's supposed to say lines, but
Like the line less thick.
oh, is my line too thick?
I don't know.
It's because I'm pressing too hard. I write really, really hard. My fingers like actually cramp if I write too much because I write really hard. I'm like stab the computer. Okay, perpendicular lines have negative reciprocal slopes. Okay, see, I stopped writing so hard, I think. Is that a tiny bit better? Okay, so for negative reciprocal slopes, that means that if you have a slope for one line that's like A over B, then your other line is going to be negative B over A. Whereas for the parallel slopes, your two slopes are going to be exactly the same. Okay, is that part okay so far? Okay, so in period 1, we only did numbers 2 and 3 in our interactive notebook, but I had a request already for number 1. So after we do 1 and 2 in the interactive notebook, you can let me know if you want me to do the third one or not, okay? Okay. So, I mean, all 3 of them are on the test, so.
On the one pager.
On the one pager. Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. I'll leave it right there while I find my study guide. There's one I had over here with highlights on it. What did I put? I'll just use it. Sorry, Dad. Those ones are the cheap ones. Oh, it's right next to me. Okay. Okay, so I'm not going to write all of the directions down. So I'm going to write the problem numbers so I can reference my study guide, okay?
All right, Dave. Sure.
I'm going to move it a little bit over this way.
I think that's enough.
Okay, so this is number 1 from the study guide. And I want a parallel line, okay? And I'm going to have this coordinate here. And this line here, 2x minus 3y equals 5. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is find the slope of that equation. Anybody have an idea of how we find the slope?
Get y by itself.
Get y by itself. Good. Okay, so when I do that, I'm going to have my negative 3y equals negative 2x plus 5. Is that part okay so far? Do you guys see what I did? Then to get my y by myself, I'm going to divide both sides by negative 3. So I'm going to have negative 2 over negative 3x plus or minus 5 over 3. Some of you are not going to like that 5 over 3. But that 5 over 3 is not a slope. It's a y-intercept. We don't need a y-intercept. So we're only looking at this slope right here. Okay. What is the slope?
Negative 2, negative
But negative 2 over negative 3 is what?
positive.
Okay, so now we're going to plug that into our point slope form. So that it goes the
If you're done.
y equals your slope times your x minus your h plus your k. Okay. Your slope is that 2 over 3. Your hk comes from that point you're given. Okay. So that would be a 2 and a negative 1. You could clean it up by saying just that minus 1. On the test, there's one that's going to be in point slope form. There's going to be one that's in slope intercept form. Does anybody want me to rewrite that in slope intercept form? Just so you have an example of one? Or are you guys okay?
We're not doing
Okay. Good. Because these are all in the multiple choice section. Okay, so this is called point slope. Okay, and then all I'm going to do to get slope intercept form is distribute that 2 over 3. Two times 2 is 4, so negative 4 over 3, and I'm subtracting 1. Okay, and then I would say 4 over 3 minus 1 isn't 1 3 over 3. You guys okay with that? Okay, so if that's 3 over 3, then isn't that negative 7 over 3? Do I need to show my work, or do you guys kind of see what I did?
Oh, yeah.
What is that second question that you're doing?
Say it again. This one is slope intercept form.
Wait, what one were you supposed to be?
It says point slope form on the study guide. However, on the test, one of them will give you point slope form in the multiple choice. The other one will be in slope intercept form. So I'm hearing some whispers. Do you guys need me to show you how I got 7 over 3?
No. No.
Yes, please.
Okay. Oh, I didn't mean to hit erase, but oh well. Okay, so what I did was, that was over 3. That was 4 over 3. Okay, so all I did was, I said 2 over 3x minus 4 over 3. I multiplied that one by 3 over 3. And so when I multiply by 3 over 3 and then subtract, I get negative 7 over 3. Okay? Yes?
Why did you get 4 over 3 in the beginning? Like, did you times that by 2?
Yes, I did. You got it. Because it was the 2 over 3 times this 2 over 1.
Why did you multiply 3 over 3?
Because in order to, because it's equal to 1. So, let's see, let me highlight it. So this right here is equivalent to this. And then the 4 over 3 came from,
How come it's equivalent?
because 3 over 3 is a whole. Like if I have a pizza.
Oh, I thought that was 3 over 5.
Oh, I see what you're saying. That does look like a 5. I may write it less bold. Boop.
It's a bit trickier.
Well, I just write really, really hard no matter what I do. It's like, It's like I have this internal tension within myself. I'm very tense. You guys see my back. I am so ripped because I am so tense all the time. So I have to, like, we should do yoga in class so that I relax and write less.
Yoga.
Yeah, but I like would break lead and pencils and stuff.
Yeah,
You
me
know.
too.
Okay, number 2. We are given 2 points. Those 2 points are,
Wait, what? We're doing the same.
I can fit mine in the same square. You don't have to do more than one in your box. So that's totally fine. So you can do this one right in your study guide if you want me to do it with you. Okay? Okay, so do it in your study guide if you don't have enough room. I am writing so extremely tiny today that I can fit more than one in a thing at a time. But yes, you can totally do this in your study guide. Okay. Okay, so this one just wants the point slope form, no parallel, no perpendicular. But all I'm given is 2 points. I don't have an equation. Anybody have an idea how we start that one? I'm going to erase this really quick and draw a line so that you guys don't get confused. Ooh, oh, yes, I keep forgetting to get that. They're probably like, she's like, ah, it's been a month. What's she doing? Thank you. Sorry, guys, that was a reimbursement check or something. I know. It's not like I'm dying for money. It's like a $10 check.
I could use a $10 check right now.
Okay, so what do you guys think we're going to do first?
What is it?
We want point slope.
Okay.
And then we got to do what? You said it, I think. You're going to find your slope first. You didn't say that. Dang it!
I said that.
That's what I'm doing. I just didn't see it.
Okay, I saw the formula on here. Find slope. So that's m equals my y2 minus my y1 over my x2 minus my x1. And I get a slope of 2.
Is that it?
Mm-hmm.
That's the answer.
It's not the whole answer because the question doesn't ask for slope only. It asks for point slope form.
But you need slope, right?
Yes.
You always have to find slope.
What? Don't cuss. You're on camera.
I've done it every day in this class.
I know.
Longer time research.
Probably. But, okay. Now we're going to plug that 2 into our equation. And we're going to plug in a point. The point slope equation. So remember, I'm writing mine on my 1-pager, but you can do this in your study guide, and if you read the instructions, it tells you what to do. I did not read the instructions on a test that involved composition. I did not do well in that class. No, you have to read the instructions. The instructions are different for each one.
I'm saying we need to put both.
Oh, good question. You can pick the point that you want. You don't have to plug in both. It doesn't matter which point you plug in. But it's in the multiple choice section. So if you pick a point and you don't see your equation, try the other one. Okay. 2 and 3. I'm going to plug that one in. In my other class, we plugged in the 4 and 7. Okay, so if you want to plug in the other one just to show, or y equals, you can plug in the other one. It really doesn't matter.
Well, if we just get point form, is that all we need?
That's all you need.
Do we even have to change?
You don't have to change it. I'm just saying,
Solve it?
nope, that's it. That is solved. Mm-hmm.
What if I simplify it all the way?
You can.
I had the correct answer.
Oh, yeah, it needs to be.
Does that need to be exactly in that form?
Oh, heck no. It's in the multiple choice. So as long as you see your answer, you're totally fine. Or 8.
Oh, yeah, I need to get something stamped from 6-1 that I left at home for like a month
Okay.
later.
Okay, here's another one, guys. We're doing perpendicular this time. Do you guys, is it okay if I just do my number 3 right here? Okay.
Yeah, we don't have to do it though, right?
No, you can do it in your study guide.
As long as we have one of them on here, right?
You only need one of them in a box on your one pager. No, I put 2 on
Oh,
there.
are they supposed to be like, what if we don't have all these boxes filled?
You need to have all of them filled. There's 8
So we
things.
should do one in here as well?
You need to put 1 on your one pager.
Well, I have one of them in my one page here.
And then the others can stay in your study guide. That's totally fine. If you want to do like me, you can do more.
But you said all the boxes need to be filled, and that's
They-
why you put another one there, right?
Well, all of the boxes will be filled when you do all 8 categories of your one pager.
So,
There's 8 categories.
so if I just keep doing this with you, we'll eventually be full, right?
Yes. As long as I don't get derailed. Okay, but you're the one derailing me, just so you know.
It's like a tree.
Well, it's just because you're asking me so many questions.
I was
Well,
trying to clarify so you don't
that's okay.
get worked down.
You're awesome.
I just when they ask questions all the time.
I love questions. You don't learn if you don't ask
Because they
questions.
get pissed when I get something wrong, and I'm like, well, then don't get mad for me. That means you're asking.
No, ask
Always
questions.
like, always ask questions, and I ask questions. They're like, get a load of this idiot.
No, just don't get mad at me if we don't get the whole thing done.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to tell you we're going to get it all done and then lie. Okay, here we go, guys. This time, number 3 is very similar to number 1. We're going to isolate the y. So I'm going to go 3y equals, I'm going to subtract the 2x and add the 9. Is that part okay? Okay. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to divide both sides by 3. So that's negative 2 over 3x plus 3. Are we okay? Okay, so this slope right here, this is your slope for your current line. Let me clear that up because now that 3 looks like a booger or something. Negative 2 over 3. Okay, so that's your slope for the original. What is our slope for the new one going to be?
Is it negative inverse of it?
Yes.
Negative reciprocal. So would it just be positive?
It'll be positive what? Yes. And then we're going to plug it into our equation. Okay, so now I'm going to plug it in. I'm going to end up with y equals x minus h plus k. My m is that 3 over 2. I only have 1 point to choose from this time. So that 4
So we just need to get the equation.
and negative 3. Okay. I'm going to clear that up. Ah!
Is that plus negative 3?
Yes, or you can just write minus 3. Either way is fine.
That makes sense.
Okay. Okay, should we just go down the list of the study guide? Okay. The next category is 4 through 10, which is, are they functions? Okay. So I think that I will do the functions one right here in this box. So there it is. Zoom out a little bit. I'm going to do functions right here in the next box. So that'll be 4 through 10. But how I'm going to split up my box is these are functions, these are not functions. Okay? So I'm going to draw a vertical line right down the middle. And I'm going to say functions on the left.
Okay, robot
And not functions on the right. Okay. So in number 4, we have a sideways parabola. If you have a sideways parabola, is it a function?
No.
No, why?
Doesn't pass.
It doesn't pass the vertical line.
Absolutely. So I'm going to draw a quick little picture. It does not need to be exact or in detail, but I do want to define that. Okay, so if I draw my vertical lines, I can see it fails that vertical line test.
I just put fails VLT.
Yes, VLT, I love it. Now I'm going to define what VLT is in my margin. Okay, so VLT is going to be my vertical line test. Okay. Sometimes there's a horizontal line test, but I will talk about that one later. Okay. Look at number 5. Does number 5 pass the vertical line test?
Yes.
Yes, it does.
Who said no?
It's hard to tell. So in my first period, I had a student, and we were working on this one. And the question came up because I have that open circle right there and then the filled in one below. The question was, well, does that mean it passes or it fails? What do you guys think?
Passes.
It passes because if I draw that vertical line right through it, that open circle is not an actual point on the graph.
It's kind of like invisible.
Yes. So this one passes the vertical line test. Okay. Then we have a bunch of equations. I'm going to tell you that 2 of them are functions and 2 of them are not.
Well, that's 6.
Oh, 6. 6 is a good one. Is 6 a function, yes or no?
Yes. I don't know. Wait. Yeah.
It's a no.
Where?
Number 6.
Because if you have repeat, oh wait.
No, it's not. It wouldn't have an inverse. It's still a function.
You're right. Dane, wait.
It wouldn't pass the inverse test. It's still.
I don't think so.
Where?
Okay. You have repeat x values, right? With different y values. So if you think about plotting them, and I have an x is 1, and I have a point that's positive and a point that's negative, won't that fail the vertical line test?
Wait a minute.
Yeah. So it's not a function. Let me explain.
Oh, wait.
Okay, so it looks like this, right? X, Y. Okay. I don't need to have the whole table in here, so I'm just going to write part of it. Okay. And then I'm just going to put in this one. See here how you have that x value? And it shows up twice. But your y values are different. So if you think about that graph, just a basic little sketch here. At 1, I have a positive point, and at 1, I have a negative point. Will that pass the vertical line test? No. So this one is still in that same category, but I'm going to say, no, you can't have repeat x values with different y values. Uh-oh, we're not around there. It drives me crazy that it went off the screen a little bit.
I don't really have room to write all the equations for the next ones.
That's okay. You can just write down a couple of them.
Or if I just write down if they are alright. Or like if I get
Yeah.
one that is one.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be like perfect or just exactly like mine. Okay, so I'm going to write that down up here with my vertical line test. Repeat x values cannot have different, I'm just going to abbreviate different y values. Okay. All right. Now we have 7, 8, 9, and 10. They're a bunch of equations. Okay. 2 of them are not functions. The other 2 are functions. Which 2 are not functions?
8 and 9.
8 and 9, absolutely. I'm going to write those 2 down. Okay, so it cannot be a vertical line, which is x equals 5.
Yep.
And it cannot have a y squared. That gives you that repeat y values or different y values. Okay, so the other 2 then end up being in the function category because they don't have those things. Okay. Uh-oh. No, not 8, 10. Okay. They don't have y squared, absolute value of y, or x equals a number. Okay. And this one is because of that y squared. And this one's because it cannot be x equals a number. Okay. Okay, I'm going to add that little note up here as well. Might be a little overkill. Probably for Dane it is.
Yeah.
So I'm going to add up here. No y squared. No absolute value of y. No x equals a number. Okay. Should we just keep going right down the list? Domain 11 and 12? Okay. So I do want to write a little something in the margin about domain. When I record using something in my, it looks kind of funky. So on my one pager here, you're going to see that I rotate my paper as I'm writing, but that's going to look really weird in a video. So I'm going to just write in my margin right here, but I'm going to squish it in going vertical. Okay. So that, but you guys can rotate your paper.
We have to.
No, I like how you did it like that. That's totally fine.
Can't
But
read it.
I won't, yeah, it's going to be challenging. Okay, so for domain, it's always all reals unless you have these 2 situations that can come up. Okay? You will not have all reals if you have a square root. Okay, I'm going to use my red pen here. Okay. Okay. And that's where the x is on the inside of that square root. Or if you have some situation where you have an x in your denominator. And that's because there's certain things that if you square root them, they're not real numbers. And there are certain things that you can divide by that will give you an error or an undefined result. What can you not square root?
Negative.
You can't square root negatives. And what can you not divide by?
0.
0. I'm going to put it in the positive. We can only square root zeros and positives. Okay. And we can never divide by 0. Okay, I'm going to do it with you. Okay, so let's do number 11. Number 11 is probably the most missed test question. And it's the easiest one on the whole thing, in my opinion. So very easy, but it is so the most missed. Yes, Alex, you're not going to miss this one. So good.
Thank you.
This is a cubic equation. Does it have a square root? Nope. Does it have an x in the denominator? Nope. So what's the domain? Negative infinity, infinity. Yep.
It's a bullshit question.
I know.
I think it's because they freaked out. The fact that they see a cube root.
Oh, yeah. For sure. Okay. So let's look at
Can we do 12?
number 12. Yes, let's totally do number 12.
No.
Okay. I'm going to write on here.
It's not gonna kill me.
Because no square root and no x in the denominator. Okay, number 12. This one does have a square root. So, how do I solve for it if I don't know how to graph it? We're going to make an inequality. An inequality that uses something for, or uses math symbols to represent zeros and positives. What symbol do we use to represent zeros and positives? It's an inequality. Yes, you got it. It's going to be greater than or equal to 0. That's the symbol for positives and 0. Okay. The part that cannot be bigger than or equal to 0 is that inside right here. So you're going to say 2x plus 5 is greater than or equal to 0. Okay? So now we got to solve it to figure out what that h value is going to be. How do I solve it?
Thank you.
Just subtract.
Mm-hmm. And then
Divide by 2.
divide by 2. Okay, so for some of you, you're very abstract thinkers. You can see the domain in interval notation just by looking at that. Some of you are very visual like me. And symbols make complete confusion unless I practice them a lot. So I like to make a visual from this the same way we did in Math 1, which is a number line. A number line is just your x-axis. We only need our h value and our x-axis to get domain. Okay, so our h value is that negative 5 over 2. It is a filled in dot. Because I don't know if everybody can visualize the answer right now.
Like,
You don't need to plug it into an equation. All you have to do is look at that arrow and decide if the x values are bigger than or equal to that fraction. Is that the left side or the right side of your x-axis or number line? What side?
Values would go to the right.
Yeah, the values are going to go to the right. Very good. So now what's that domain?
-5/2, comma infinity.
You got it.
Um,
Now, in my last class, I had students say, can you do a little refresher on when it's staple and when it's curvy? Do you guys need that refresher?
What does that mean? It's super curvy.
So this, see how this one's staple, like hard bracket C,
Oh, okay, no.
and then the other one's kind of just like a eyelash.
Are
Is that okay? Okay. There are some others on domain on your study guide. Do we need to add any other ones on there?
I don't think so.
No? You guys are good on all the rest? Okay, good. So I'll let you guys do those ones in your study guide later. I'm going to move on to graphing section. So there are a few graphs. There's 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. But I had a request for number 13. Okay, so yes, Dane, I'll go over number 13.
I can explain the rest of them. I just
Miss Davis has a question.
Okay. Does this one have a square root?
Yes.
No. It has a square. Does it have a square
Oh, it's
root?
just square root, sorry.
No. Does it have an x and a denominator?
no.
No. So what's the domain?
Okay, well that's just kind of like redundant, isn't it?
Well,
But like the second X there just.
so here's my question to you, Dane. Did you write the because in there? on your paper?
I did. I
So
put it
that's when you want to
multiple
take
times.
a highlighter and highlight it so your eye is drawn to it, because we will forget. We typically forget 80% of what we hear and see in a class the moment we walk out that door. It might be 90, especially if I let you guys have phones and be like 95.
Like 99.
Yeah. Okay, so, well, I know as soon as that bell rings, I'm getting on my phone.
What 14? How the hell?
Okay, are you guys okay on 14? Or 15? Or do you want me to do one of those? You want me to do 15 and 16?
Yes.
I think that's great. Okay, good. So I'm going to do 15. Okay, so it's f of x equals 2 over 3 minus 2x. Does it have an x in a denominator? Yes. So we have to find the vertical asymptote. So when I find that vertical asymptote, you take your denominator and I set it equal to 0. That's what happens when you have undefined results. How do I find out what my x value is going to be? Subtract the 3. And then what?
Divide by 2.
Divide by 2. So I'm going to end up with a positive 3 over 2. This is a split domain, because even if you don't know what your graph looks like, you're going to have that h value of 3 over 2, which is somewhere over here. And you're going to have graph on the left and on the right. That's the only spot where there's an interruption in your x values. So my domain is negative infinity, comma 3 over 2, parentheses, u, and what's in the other one? 3 over 2, comma infinity. Okay, I'm going to make that all fit in there. I just wrote some of this other stuff too big. Dang it. Drive me crazy. Oh well, I'll leave it like that for now. I'll fix it later. Okay, what? Number, okay. All right, so do you need me to do number 14 or 16, or do you guys kind of remember how to do those? 16? Okay, so 16, we have an x squared over an x squared plus 6x plus 8. This one is going to be huge in unit 7. You're going to take that denominator and find your vertical asymptotes. There's going to be more than one. So you take your x squared plus 6x plus 8 and set it equal to 0. How do you solve a trinomial equal to a 0? Factor it. Very good. That's going to be x and x, 4 and 2. What are the two asymptotes? X equals -4, x equals -2. Very good. So now I'm going to have a three-way split. Here's why. You have that graph here. You have undefined at -4, undefined at -2, but you're going to have graph on the left, the middle, and the right. So that's -infinity, comma, -4. It does not touch the -4. U, -4 to -2. U, -2 to infinity. That one's harder than the one on the test, just so you know. It was on last year's test. We just moved it. That's on the unit 7 test, this level. Okay. Okay. So we did not do number 14 and 17, but you guys got that, right?
Sure.
Okay. Let's pick one of these graphs to put on my one pager because I definitely won't fit all of them. 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Do you guys want to do 24? Yeah. Because it's the piecewise function. 23? 23 and 24. I think I can fit both of them in a box. Okay. So, is it okay if I move to the other side or should I keep going down? Can I just put it right here? Oh, dang. Your positivity is killing me. I might just die today. Life would be so boring if you weren't here, Dane. I laugh like every time.
Shot put off.
You remind me of Eeyore. We should name Dane Eeyore. Isn't Eeyore like the best though? He's so the best. That's so Dane. Dane, you're Eeyore. Oh, Dane. Okay. I'm just getting it set up because I was laughing too hard to focus.
Jesus.
Whoa. Okay, here we go. So, shall I do number 23 first? Might as well do them in order. Okay, so 23, we're going to plot our HK. What is our HK in this one?
5, 2.
5, 2. Okay, so, uh-oh. So it came from this one and this one. Okay, when you do that, you're going to have your asymptotes. You're going to have a vertical, and you're also going to have a horizontal. Okay, then we are going to use stretch to get at least 2 more points on our graph. I'm only going to get 2 more. Okay, so my stretch in this one is what? What's the stretch value? 1. So I always go right 1, and then I go which direction? Right 1, left or right? You said over. Is that left or right?
Right.
To the right? Okay. And then I need one on the left. Let me go ahead and connect that. Okay, so it's that square in combination with that stretch that helps us with that next point. The point on the left is always affected by an even or an odd relationship. Odd relationship takes that left and it takes which is a negative, and keeps it negative. So you go left and down. But if it's an even function, when you go left, your function is turning that negative into a positive, forcing it up. Is this an even or an odd function?
It's an even function.
You can tell by the power.
Even.
What is the power on this one? It is even. It's a 2. So because it's an even function, when you go to the left, you're not going to go down. The square makes it positive, so I'm going to go where instead?
To the left.
Left and
Up.
up 1. Good. Okay. So I might write that one down. Left 1, up 1, because even. Okay, then on the test, it's going to ask you all those things about vertical, horizontal, domain range, increasing, decreasing, but it's also going to have one that says positive or negative. So, I don't like doing the positive or negative on this one, but I may add it to one of my other ones. Why don't? Okay, so should we write down our vertical and horizontal asymptotes? Okay, I think that's a great idea. So, vertical asymptote, is it okay if I write VA? Okay, x equals, it must be x equals, what? 5.
Just keep it. Do not
Okay.
come back to me.
Horizontal asymptote must be y equals, and what was it? 2, good. Okay. Okay, on the little margin over here, I'm going to write down just a little something, something. VA must be x equals number. HA, or horizontal asymptote, must be y equals a number. The reason I say that is because I wrote that exact statement on a handful of targets from last week. And so I want to make sure you guys have that. All right, let's see, domain and range. We can do that. It's a split domain, negative infinity, comma, 5, curvy bracket, 5, comma, infinity. Is that okay? Okay, range. It starts at the 2 and goes up forever. Is that okay? Okay. Increasing and decreasing interval. You are increasing on the left-hand side because you're tracing it from left to right. So for my increasing interval, it would be from negative infinity all the way up to that 5, but not touching the 5. Is that okay? Okay, I'm going to write that little comment over here real quick. Trace the graph from left to right when finding increasing, and decreasing intervals. Okay. All right, so then it's decreasing on the right because it's going down from left to right. Okay. Are all of those okay? Okay, this one doesn't pop up on the study guide anywhere, but I'm going to make a little note on the side about positive and negative intervals, okay? They are the domain of the graph. Where the graph is above the x-axis. And the negative interval is when it is below the x-axis.
Can I get a picture of the one thing?
Let me take a picture.
I'll take a picture.
Okay. The two that I didn't finish here will be finished on here before negative. Okay. Okay. Are we ready for our piecewise function?
Sure.
Okay. I'm going to pause there just because I see a few people still writing. I'm going to hydrate. I will. I know, Dan, I'm not fast enough for you. I'm so sorry. You didn't know when you took advanced math with me that I'm the slowest. So sorry. But it helps me to not have to reteach.
Yeah.
Notice, I think I've only had like 2 or 3 advanced math students come in for extra help this year.
Really?
Yeah, because most of you guys get what you need in full.
I've come.
Yes, you're one of my 2 or 3. The other ones are usually kids that have been absent. Okay, here we go. I am going to graph each one in separate parts, okay? So when I look at this first part right here, I'm going to graph that as its own function. I'm going to rewrite it, though, to make it a tiny bit easier, okay? F of x is equal to negative x plus 3. Do you guys see why I did that? It's a little bit easier to see my HK. What is my HK?
Negative 3, 0.
It's not negative 3, 0.
No, this is 0, 0. Right?
It is
0, 3.
It is 0, 3. Because there's no parentheses. So 0, 3, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to put my point here. But now I have to look at that domain. See how it has a negative 2? I need to get to where the graph is negative 2. So my slope is negative 1, and I can go right 1, down 1. But that one's not in my domain. I need to go to the left. So left 1, up 1. But that's still only negative 1, so I need to go again. I'm going to repeat my slope. So now I'm at negative 2. I'm going to go 1 more. So I have one to the left of that negative 2. You're only going to highlight part of that graph. You start at the one where the negative 2 is. And we want the part less than because of that restriction. Is that part okay?
Yeah.
You don't have to do that many points. You can do a T-chart if you want, but for me, to repeat the slope when I can is faster than drawing a T-chart. Okay, this one is funky. It just has a negative 2. Anybody know what that's going to look like? It's a straight line. Is it vertical or horizontal?
Vertical.
It is horizontal. Yep. It's horizontal at y is -2. So it'll look like a straight line. But I want it to be between -2 and 3. So see that -2 there? I'm going to have a point there. It's an open circle, y. It's not on the graph, y.
It's not the greater than or equal to.
It's not greater than or equal to. Good. Then I'm going to go over to the 1, 2, 3. I'm going to put a filled in one. Why is that one filled in? Because it is equal to. Good. Okay, now I need to adjust this because it looks like I filled that one in. There, that's a little bit better. I know I wrote it mega huge, that dot, but it looked like I filled it in. Okay, last one. This is the easiest one, I think. What's my HK on that bottom one? 0 and 3. Good. So it's the same as here. Okay. I'm going to use that slope, rise 2, run 3. Okay. I'm going to need another one. You need to have 3 points for accuracy, but also this one isn't even going to be on my graph. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and then up another 2. It's going to be this part here. I did make a mistake, though. Does anybody see the mistake? Yes, good. Okay, good. Do I need to add any more notes to that one? Took up a lot of space, right? I will tell you on the test, you won't be asked to do the range for that one. It's on there right now, but it's in my notes to delete the range because I'm afraid you guys will all get it wrong. Okay. All right, are we okay otherwise? Do I need to do domain with you?
No.
Okay. All right. Moving on to the next category. 27 and 29. I love it. Yes, 27 and 29. Absolutely. We did 32 as well. This is for our composition. So if you want me to do 32, you can ask me once I get done with this one, okay? Okay, so I'm going to move this up a little bit. I am going to add a little bit of notes on the side here, okay? If you have something like f minus g of x, this means that you're going to take your f function, it's going to be in the front, and you're going to subtract the g function. If you have a division, f over g, that means you're going to write a fraction, but f of x function will be in the numerator, g of x will be in the denominator. Okay. Then I'll come back and do composition versus multiplication, okay? So I'm going to do 27 and 29 first, and then I'll talk about 28, and then you guys can let me know if you want to do another one. Okay, so this is 27. 27 has two equations. F of x is equal to x squared minus 3. And g of x equals square root of x plus 1. It's then asking us to find f minus g of negative 1.
That's just 1.
So this has multiple issues. Say it again. Oh, it is positive 1. Thank you, Dane. You get a pixie stick. Okay, so this means typically f of x minus g of x. But Do you see here how that f of x, it's not an x anymore? Yes, that means that your x is not going to be an x. You're going to plug in a 1. Okay, so I'm going to plug that 1 into each of my x values when I write out my equation. Okay, so that'll look like this. Okay, my f function is right here, so it'll be something squared minus 3, but that something is going to be a 1. And then I'm going to have over here with my function for g, that's going to be square root of something plus 1, but that something is 1. Okay. I must have hit something on the side. Sorry, guys. Okay, and then we're going to simplify. Order of operations. 1 plus 1 is what? Nope.
1 plus 1.
2. 1 squared is 1 minus 3. Good. I can do one more thing to simplify. Combine. Negative 2 minus root 2 is your final answer.
Kind of does. I'm messing.
Fertilize my.
Yes, so we are all in that boat sometimes. Okay, 29 now? Okay. F over g of 3. Same idea. I'm going to move this one down here. 27. Because they're the same equations. Okay, this one means f of 3 over g of 3. Okay, so my f function is something squared minus 3. And the g is square root of something plus 1. But those somethings are 3. Okay, so order of operations. You're going to have, I'm going to go like this, 9 minus 3 over square root of 4. What's 9 minus 3? 6 over square root of 4. 2, and then 6 divided by 2 is 3. So that's our final answer. Okay. All right, look at numbers 31 and 32. Do we want to do one of those also? Yes. There is, in my last class, I put them all in one box, but you can see I ran out of room. Is it okay if I try to put it in this box? Okay. So 32. Is it okay if I do 32 or you guys want to do 31? 32? Okay. Yes. Okay, so that open circle there means composition. Okay, so I'm going to write it down over here. It means your function f is on the outside and your function g is going to be inserted on the inside. Okay, but over here it says g of f. So see how g is the one in front? That means this is the outside. So it's going to be 3 times something plus 1. The f being to the right means that's what we are plugging in. So this is going inside here. Now we're just going to do some easy simplifying. What would I do to simplify that? Distribute or FOIL. That is my final answer. Way easier than it looked, huh? I did mark a lot of targets wrong because students multiplied the two things together and then FOILed and then got this huge thing with like an x cubed in it. And then other people inserted the wrong function into the, yeah. Matt. Yeah, I can do 31. I don't think I'm going to have enough room to do it on my one pager. Can I do it on the side? Okay. 31. Do it right here. So I have f of x equals 3x squared plus 8x plus 2, and g of x equals 5x plus 1. So when it says f of g, oh, it's minus. Ooh, thank you, Depreet. I need to bring you a pixie stick. Okay. F of g of x. Now, f is the outside function. And we're going to substitute our function for g into that. So this is going in here. That means that we're going to plug it in for this x and this x. So I'm going to end up with 3 times something squared plus 8 times something plus 2. That something is 5x minus 1. Oh, I'll have to do it with my green pen. Okay, I'm going to FOIL that out. Can I FOIL it in my head? Is that okay? Because I know the pattern. Saves time. Okay. 5 times 5 is 25x squared. 5x times negative 1 is negative 5x times 2 is negative 10x. Negative 1 times negative 1 is 1. I just verbalized what I was doing in my head. So then I'm going to distribute. I'm going to get 40x minus 8 and a plus 2. Are we okay so far? Does that look okay? Maybe. I'm going to distribute my 3. That's a 75x squared minus 30x plus 3. And I'm bringing the rest down. Then I'm just going to combine like terms. I have a 75x squared. That's a negative 30 and a positive 40, giving me a positive 10x. And then I have a 3, a 2, and a negative 8. 3 and 2 is 5, and a negative 8 makes negative 3. That is my final answer. A lot of steps, huh? Okay. Are we okay with that one so far? Okay. Moving on. How about inverse functions? We should probably do some of those. Okay. Inverse functions are going to use something called the vertical line test and the horizontal line test. So I want to go back up to the top real quick where I wrote vertical line test, and I want to write something about horizontal line test, okay? Okay, so I'll grab my blue pen here. I'm going to use HLT for horizontal line test. Okay, for it to be a horizontal line test, let's see. You also, see how with vertical line test, we said you can't have repeat x values with different y values? Horizontal line test is going to have it very, very similar. But what values cannot repeat? Y. Okay.
was good.
Okay. So see here at the top where I said y squared, absolute value of y, x cannot equal a number. Now I want to do it for horizontal. What can you not have in your equation? No. Remember, they're exact opposites. We're switching x and y. So no x squared. No absolute value. Oh, but of x. And no y equals a number. Unless, and here's the big word, unless there's a restriction that eliminates the repeats.
Oh.
Okay. I'm going to write with my red pen right under that. Inverse inverse functions exist only when a function passes both the vertical line test and the horizontal line test. Okay. Okay, are we ready? No? Okay, I'm gonna drink some water now, Jake. Does that funny when I drink water? That's so funny because in period one they said that they did the same thing, and Cole goes, "Was it Cole or Lulu?" One of them goes, "Oh my gosh, how did you drink so much water so fast?" And I said, "I don't know, I have a big throat." And they're like, everybody started laughing, and I'm like, I don't know why it's so funny. So you guys think it's funny too? I am such a comedian. It's so funny. I love it. You bet. And I get paid to do this. Yay. Okay, I'm going to move it now, okay? Okay. I know, your teacher's wacky. I'm okay with wackiness. Wacky and funny. I like both. So, and nerdy. I'm okay with being nerdy. I'll make nerdy cool. At least I don't wear the fanny pack anymore. You guys missed out on that one.
Do you have like your
On 31?
No, the other way.
Oh, this way? This way. This way.
Yes.
Aha, got it. Okay, so I am gonna do the two columns again, okay? Function, not a inverse, no inverse, okay? I think that's kind of a nice way to categorize it. Okay, so number 34, it's a graph. You're looking at whether it passes both vertical and horizontal line tests. What do you think? Does it pass both? Number 34. I'm seeing a nod. You are correct. It is no. 34 looks like this. And it doesn't have to be an accurate graph or anything. Okay, there was an open circle there and one there. Okay, so this one fails the horizontal line test, so it's not an inverse, does not exist. Okay, I think I did that one in blue. Okay, what about number 35? Inverse or no inverse? I'll do it for you guys since you guys are distracted. It is passes both. So, okay. So vertical line test, it never touches more than once. Horizontal line test, it passes there also. Okay, then we get into equations. We have f of x equals the absolute value of x minus 2. Does that one have an inverse? Think about the notes we put in the margin. 36 is a no. Do you guys know why?
Horizontal line test.
Yes, it fails the horizontal line test. And we know that because the absolute value is a v. Okay.
So that's 2.
Okay, good. 37 is a quadratic with a restriction. Look at your restriction. Does that restriction repeat the y values, making your u a half a u? What do you guys think? It is a yes. It is an inverse. Does exist. No, it's 37, right? It always kind of helps if you kind of graph it if you're not sure. I'm visual, so that helps me to see it. But when I look at that graph here, the HK is -3, 0. I only want the part bigger than that, so it's only that part, so then it passes. I'm just going to put repeated y's. Okay, 38. Inverse or no inverse? It's going to be an inverse. I know, I'm just kind of doing it because nobody is really awake anymore. That's all right.
I didn't realize it, but it's almost.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it's still now.
Okay. That is okay.
It's barely Tuesday.
Okay, but then that last one, 39, is not an inverse. Do you guys know why?
It's not an inverse.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm just going to write down the 2 points with the repeats, okay? So it has that -4 and that -4. Okay. All right, let's see. We did not do a difference quotient on there. And we did not do a rewrite the inverse. We still have 7 minutes. Should I just keep going? Okay. So I'm going to do the other inverse one right here. How about I do 42? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. On the test, it's not going to tell you to graph it, but the graph is the hint to getting your domain correct. Okay, so we want to find our inverse algebraically. What's our first step? Let's see, do I have my little note over there? Where'd it go? Oh, it's way up there. I'm going to write it here on the side. Switch X and Y. Okay, so this is going to become my X. This will be my F of X, and then we add the symbol. Uh-oh. Okay, this comment came up in first period. It came up, the question that was asked was, should we distribute the square?
No.
No. Should I FOIL? No. What should I do? Square root, yes. So you switch the X and Y, and then you're going to undo operations. Do not FOIL. Uh-oh. I put 2 E's in distribute. Oh, I forgot the R in distribute too. Dang it, I'm just full of typos. Distribute. Okay, so I'm going to square root instead. And I'm going to end up with the square, uh-oh, I don't want my green pen. The square root of X equals the inverse plus 2. And then what? I'm going to subtract 2. Is it okay if I write it this way? Oh. Are you guys okay with that part? Okay, so in this, the part that is tricky is not necessarily the equation, it's the domain. And when I graded targets, it was the domain that people were getting wrong. To find your domain, you do the domain and range of the original, and then you flip them or switch them to get the domain and range of your inverse. Okay? So I'm going to write down both. My original is going to be this one right here. Okay. Does anybody know what the domain of that one's going to be, or should we draw a basic graph? What do you think? Should we draw a basic graph to get our domain and range? Okay, I'm going to draw it real quick. HK, -2, 0. I only want that side of my graph. Okay, basic graph. Are we okay with that? Okay, so my domain of F is what? Oh, you guys, oh yeah, F, not F of X. So sorry, I did that. That's there, that's there. Okay. I was getting myself confused for a second. So I would say -2 to infinity, is that correct? And what's the range?
0 to infinity.
0 to infinity, perfect. Then to do your domain and range for your inverse function here, you're just going to switch them. So my domain now is 0 to infinity, and my range, not my wrangle, my range is -2 to infinity. This is a part I predict to have more errors, especially since I have less focus right now. This range becomes this domain. We switch them. So I'm highlighting it because it's a highly missed area. Okay, I know the bell's going to ring in 2 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and do the difference quotient so it's in this video. Then I will upload it so that this video will be up before the end of the school day. The rest of the study guide I will do on a video after school sometime, but it may not get uploaded until later tonight, okay, or first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay, so, good. You're welcome to take a picture of this one here. Get a picture. Okay, I'm going to put number 44, I think, is the harder one. Okay, and it said, okay, f of x is equal to 3x squared plus x minus 5. Hey!
I didn't have my notebook yesterday when you
Okay.
sent all the stuff in.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Excellent. Okay, and so my difference quotient is f of x plus h minus f of x all over h, okay, where h does not equal 0. So I do the first part first, right here.
Sorry.
That's okay. So I'm going to plug in x plus h and x plus h. So it would be 3 times x plus h
I'll like hack it.
squared
I don't know.
plus x plus h for that one minus 5. And then I have to do the other one. Let me see real quick. Uh-oh. Okay. And that other one right here. Okay, it's going to be plugging in now an x. So that would be 3 times x squared plus x minus 5. But then when I have this subtraction here, it means I have to subtract all of that. So I'm going to subtract all of this. Good. And then just FYI to my peeps, I forgot to tell you guys I have an Avid site team meeting, so I'm going to be leaving in like 3 minutes. So, sorry.
I just want to, can we stay inside?
I can't because I won't be an adult. So I say, yeah, hurry up and heat up whatever you're going to heat up, but then I have to have you guys leave. I'm so sorry. I totally forgot. Bad teacher, bad teacher. Okay, so I'm going to have FOIL this. I'm going to have x squared plus 2xh plus h squared. Bye. You too. And then I'm going to have plus x plus h minus 5. And then I'm going to distribute that negative. So that'll end up being a negative, a positive. Okay, so a negative 3x squared, a negative x, and a positive 5. Then I'm going to distribute over here. 6 plus 3h squared plus, ooh, and I can start eliminating things here. Okay, so now I just have the plus h and plus 3x squared. Nope, minus. Okay, so then those will cancel. And all I have is terms with h left over, so I'm going to factor it out.
How long does yours have to be in?
And then when I divide by h, those will cancel, giving me x. 6x plus 3h plus 1, where h does not equal 0. Final answer. All right, I will do the rest of the study guide in another video.